Hello, this is Mr. Tate, and since I'm not in class today, I did want to give you a little lesson today about how to write a short answer question. And this is important because we're going to have this on the test that you've got coming up either tomorrow or Friday. And we've gone over the short answer questions in class very briefly when we answered a question about the Neolithic Revolution and social structure. But I wanted to give you a little more guidance on how I'd like to see these written. The method I want you to use is called ACE. And ACE stands for A, answer the question, make your point. C, cite specific factual evidence. Cite means to mention or to use or to bring up. And E stands for explain how the evidence proves your point. Okay? So answer the question means make your point. If I ask you a question, you're going to answer it. And the point that you're making, the argument you're making, is your answer to the question. And it should be something you can support with facts, which is where you're going to use C to cite specific factual evidence, specific historical information that proves that your point is correct. And then explain how that evidence proves your point means to just continue to discuss the factual evidence in a way that demonstrates that the point you made, your answer to the question, is correct. And we put down here 4 to 5 sentence max per answer. It really is going to depend. The most important thing is that you answer the question, you answer it completely, you answer it with good evidence. Depending on how you write, it might be 3 sentences, it might be 5 sentences. I don't expect it to be 1 sentence or 2 sentences. We're really looking for 3 to 5. So let's look at an example. Explain how rulers created centralized governments to organize their empires. Okay, I want to think about this one. So when I think about centralized governments, when you hear that word centralized governments, you should already be thinking China, because in China, with the Qin and the Han, is where centralized governments became the most dominant form of government. And I'm going to go ahead and answer this one. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to say, so explain how rulers created centralized governments to organize their empires. I'm going to start with addressing the question. Rulers, such as those in China, created centralized governments by claiming all power to themselves. Okay, so that's a really short, simple answer. It's sort of the definition of what is a centralized government. And now I've got sort of an answer, but I've got to prove it. I've got to give examples. I've got to give factual evidence, etc., etc. And so I'm going to say, for example, Emperor Qin, the first emperor of China. I was going to say he created, but I'm going to go back to that. For example, Emperor Qin, the first emperor of China, well, what did he do to create a centralized government? Well, he killed nobles and other political enemies. Remember what he did with the books? He burned books and killed scholars who opposed him. So here I've mentioned in a very short sentence several things, several facts that I know. First of all, I've mentioned Emperor Qin. I've mentioned that he's the first emperor of China. I mentioned that he killed nobles and other political enemies. He burned books, and he killed scholars who opposed him. So I've got, what is that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 to 5 historical points that I am bringing up, all about Emperor Qin. And he's an example of someone who created a centralized government. So now I'm going to say, okay, so he burned all the books and killed the scholars who opposed him. Now I'm going to say he did all this to destroy other powerful people and ensure that all power that he held all the power in his kingdom, in his empire, let's say, thereby creating a strong centralized government. All right, so there you go. I've got this is three sentences, three full sentences, and it's about 50 words, and you get an idea there about how long it took me to do it. And I've got the A, address the question, explain how rulers created centralized government to organize their empires. I like to do one sentence per thing. So A is my first sentence, address the question. Remember back here, answer the question. Answer the question, address the question, make your point. Rulers, such as those in China, created centralized governments by claiming all power to themselves. Okay, I answered the question. Okay, next, C, prove it. What's your evidence? Okay, for example, Emperor Qin, the first emperor of China, killed nobles and other political enemies, burned books, and killed scholars who oppose him. All right, that seems like a lot of evidence. But explain, how does this evidence connect back and prove your point? How does this make your answer stronger? That's sentence number 3. He did all this to destroy other powerful people and ensure that he held all the power in his empire, thereby creating a strong centralized government. So there you go. I've answered the question, explain how rulers created centralized governments to organize their empires. Okay, such a nice, simple method that you can use, that I want you to use. And now for the time that you have remaining in class, I want you to try one. The easiest way to submit is just send an email to energyworldhistory@gmail.com. You can type directly into the email. And here's the question I want you to answer. You're probably going to have to look back at your notes for this. Describe how new belief systems and cultural traditions emerged and spread during the time period 600 BCE to 600 CE. That's the time period of basically chapter 5, 6, and 7. So I want you to go through your notes on that. And, you know, we don't have a lot of time in class today, and this shouldn't really take a lot of time. In a testing situation, you should be able to write one of these in 4 minutes. So I say you can go back to your notes, but I don't want you spending a lot of time going back to your notes. If you can write it now, go for it. If you need to look back at your notes, spend a couple minutes looking back at your notes, remind yourself. But you're basically, you know, have limited amount of time. I want you to spend enough time to get it where you're comfortable with it. But don't write a book. You could write a book on this topic. Don't write a book. Make sure you use ACE. If you have time, if you want to do another one, awesome. You can also write about, explain one of the effects of more reliable and abundant food supplies following the Neolithic Revolution. I gave that one to you guys in class, but most people didn't have time to really address it. But what you're being graded on is the first question, okay? When you finish, watch a video from my playlist. I think as you're looking at this YouTube video, you can get to my playlist pretty easily, and you can see I've got a lot of random history videos in there. Finally, I want to mention about the test. It will include information from that little history religions homework, the one that you read about Confucian and Buddhism and all that kind of stuff. So do look back at that when you're studying for the test. Okay, well, this video has been less than 10 minutes. That means that you have at least another 10 minutes to write your answer to this question. Write, if you like, an answer to the second question. And make sure you submit this. It is for a grade. And if you have time, watch a video from my playlist. Guys, have a great day. I hope you enjoy your early day off. And I will see you guys on Thursday and Friday.